Hey painters, thanks for joining me today. My name is Megan with Mama Bair Art. Thank you Chippewa River District Library for having me paint for you all today. We will be painting this cute little snowman duo. I will guide you step by step to get to this, but if you'd like to change anything while we're working, you are more than welcome to. The canvas is yours. And art is art is art, so it will change our styles and our different ways of holding the brush and whatever. So it's really neat to see how we all do something just a little bit different, even though we're working on the same picture. So I'm going to guide you one step at a time. We're going to start first by making sure we have all of our tools handy. So you should have a blank canvas. Da-da-da. We'll probably do it horizontal, so make some elbow room for a horizontal canvas on your space. You should have a paintbrush. You should have a paint palette with brown, yellow, red, blue, and white, maybe some glitter. We'll see. You definitely want to make sure that you have a cup of water. I usually recommend that you have it on the opposite side of your dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to have my water on my left side so that you don't drink it. It's very important here, guys. Paint water does not taste good. So make sure that you have a cup of water handy so that you don't drink it, and some paper towel or a napkin or a rag or something to dry your brush in between colors. So we are going to start by dipping our brush in a little bit of water. I like to use water as an eraser, but also as kind of like a shading tool or a sketching tool. Watering down an acrylic paint helps to keep it nice and light so that it's easy to cover up or kind of smear out if we have an oops. So we're going to dip our brush in water, and then in a little bit of blue. You can even test it a teeny little bit down here. You want to make sure it's nice and light. The more water, the lighter it is. So with this light blue, we're going to draw a half circle, and it's going to go just inside your canvas. There's room to make it bigger, and there's room to make it smaller. So if you put it on there and you want to adjust, you absolutely can. We will come back and fill it in later. So we just want the idea of this shape in, nothing permanent. We're also going to put in where our branch is going to be. This is not a final line, but just so that you have an idea of where it's going to be. You can stick with that light blue on your brush still. We're going to do the branch coming from the left side of your canvas. So I like to start with just a line of where the branch is going to start, all the way over to the farthest point. And if you twist your brush so that it's landing, the very end will just be the very tip of your brush touching the canvas. You kind of twist it or lift it up so that it ends in a thinner or more skinny line. That's as big as I want my branch to be. We will add all of the little pieces later, but I just want you to have an idea of where that's going to land. Now we're going to dip our brush in blue paint and a little bit more water, and we're going to paint the whole canvas all around our half circle here. The more water you have, the lighter it will be, and sometimes that makes it a little bit more sky-like. Yes, we are painting over this branch line that we just made. It's kind of like a practice line. This is a great opportunity to just kind of feel out your paintbrush, especially if you're newbies. Just kind of get the hang of holding it, practice twisting it so that it ends with a skinny line. If I'm moving too fast, the great thing about these videos is that you can pause it and catch up. So we're going to paint the whole canvas, even the sides. It's going to be just like a hint of blue. So Sometimes I just add more water, and sometimes I add a little bit more blue when it starts to really disappear. So keeping it, I'll show you on mine here how it's really, some parts are darker than others, but I think that makes it a little bit more sky-like by keeping it watered down and darker in some places. Just want to make sure that you get the whole thing covered in paint of some sort. Sometimes it's hard to tell because the canvas is white, but we'll get there. Okay, we've got the whole thing painted. Excellent. Doesn't have to be perfect, and it's okay if you see brush strokes in it. Then we're going to clean our brush really good, and we're going to put the first layer of white paint inside that half circle. The reason I say the first layer is because often with acrylic paints, especially depending on the brand or different kinds of acrylic paint that there are, sometimes it takes a couple layers to really make it like a nice, solid, thick color. So we're going to fill in this whole half circle, thick white, just gob it on. No water, just scoop up that white paint and fill it in there. We don't have a lot of other use for the white, but you do want to save a teeny little bit for the snow on your branches later. So we're going to fill in this whole snowman head. Don't forget the bottom. Once that's filled in, you should have the whole canvas covered with some kind of color. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? When you're done with that, we'll clean our brush. So you want to, I usually will paint, like kind of push down at the bottom of my water cup, and that really helps to take the paint out of the bristles. Sometimes it gets all clogged up in there, so that really helps. With a little bit of water on your brush still, that's okay. We're going to paint in the shape of our earmuffs. So you can choose what color you want to do the earmuffs. If you remember, our primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, can mix to make your own custom colors. So you can do red and blue for purple, you can do blue and yellow for green, red and yellow for orange, you get it. I'm gonna do green. I'm gonna do green earmuffs this time. So I'm gonna just dab my brush a teeny bit in blue and a teeny bit in yellow, and I'm gonna let them mix on the canvas. So whatever color you're using for your earmuffs, I usually stay away from orange because the carrot is orange, and I try to stay away from a light blue because the sky is blue, but totally up to you. So our first step in making these earmuffs is painting on an oval shape right on the edge of the snowman head. The edge of the snowman head is going to be kind of the middle of our oval shape. We're going to do that on both sides. They don't have to be perfectly in line, but close. And go ahead and fill them in. They don't have to be perfectly oval shaped because we're going to add the lumps and bumps that really give these guys texture in just a minute here. When you've got your oval shapes filled in and you're still happy with them, we're going to add the lumps and bumps. What I did is just go around the edges and kind of lump, a lump, a lump, all the way around. This just gives it a little texture like they're super fuzzy, cozy, warm. You know, I don't know if I've ever found earmuffs for adults. I'm gonna have to be on the hunt for those. Sound really cozy this time of year. So we're gonna add the lumps and bumps around both earmuffs. It's really easy for them to get bigger and really big, and all of a sudden we just have two giant earmuffs on our canvas. That's why we do the oval shape first. That helps us to kind of control the shape a little bit. So we've got those filled in. Beautiful. If I'm moving too fast, you're not quite there yet. that's okay. Just push pause and catch up as you can, or potty break. So we've got our earmuffs filled in. Excellent. Now we're going to clean our brush, and we're going to draw the wire that connects one side to the other. So with a clean brush, I'm going to use navy blue. You can use a color that kind of matches your earmuffs. I would recommend a darker color, like navy blue or like a dark purple. That way you can definitely see it. So I'm going to use navy. And I'll show you these completed earmuffs here. See, the line is meant to be lumpy bumpy, but almost all the way to this side is kind of a gap. So I usually do a big dip down in there so that I remember we need to put a big bird's nest there and lump in. So I'll show you on this guy. We're gonna go lump, a lump, a lump, a lump, a lump, swoop, and back in. That was a big swoop. Even all of my paintings of the same picture look so different. Maybe it depends on my mood. I'm happy today. So we've got our lump, a lump, a lump, swoop little wire connector here. Clean your brush really good. And we are going to add just a quick second layer to the snowman head before we add all of his features. So just work around the earmuff as much as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. You just kind of want that second layer to brighten them up a little bit. A lot of this you really won't see because of the carrot and the rosy cheeks. Good. If you grab a little color from your earmuffs, they're still wet, let it dry, then come back and add some white paint on top of it, or make your earmuff a little bit bigger to cover up that little spot. Any oopses can be easily fixed after it's dry and paint over it. That seems to work the best. Now I'm going to clean my brush, and we're going to add in our tree branch. So if you remember back to when we made that single line, that was a good practice. We twisted it so that it was skinny at the end. I'm going to do that again with brown. You can still water this down a little bit so that it's easy to fix any oopses. Sometimes with this step, it might be easier to watch me do it and then dive in. It might make you feel a little bit better about it. So I'm going to start again from the left side and just draw from the start to the end. Then I'm going to add the width of my branch, and I'm going to make this one kind of come from thicker on both sides. So see how I'm just adding like another line and then filling it in? So we've got one main branch here. Now we're going to add two kind of medium branches. And I'm going to go one on the bottom. They're meant to be a little lumpy bumpy, so if your hand isn't super steady, that's okay. So two medium branches. I just mean that they're starting a little thinner than this main branch did. Okay, I'm going to thicken that one up just a little bit down here. And then we're going to have two teeny little branches coming off of that. And I'm just using the skinniest or the end of my brush. And adjust as you need to. I'm gonna make this one a little bit fatter, a little bit farther. I would recommend sticking with one main branch, 2 little sticks coming off of it, 2 medium, and 2 little sticks coming off of that, only because it's really easy for it to become like a claw. Like mine almost did with that one short piece, but kind of stick with that. All right. Now we're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna stick with brown on our brush, so don't clean it off yet. With brown on your brush, we're gonna add our nest. This takes a couple layers. So the first layer, we're just establishing the nest. We're just gonna kind of claim its territory here. So I'm just dabbing a little bit here. Takes a couple layers because often when it dries and you put another on, it really helps to make it look a little bit more dense or layered as a nest would. So we'll clean our brush. Now we're gonna add rosy cheeks and our carrot nose. I've only built 1 snowman so far this year, and my 3-year-old destroyed it. So we're on a mission to create a couple more. We'll see how it goes. Stay tuned. So we're gonna use red and yellow to make orange, and kind of like how I mixed before, we're gonna dip a little bit in yellow and a little bit in red and let it mix on our canvas. But we wanna start with the letter C, but it's kind of pointing towards the nest a little bit. So if you do like this, see how it's kind of facing up. Now I'm gonna draw or mark a dot where I want the end of my carrot to be, because it's really easy for it to just keep going and going and going and gone to the moon. So I'm gonna do a dot right here where I want it to end. You see my little red dot over here? Now we're gonna connect our C to that dot. So we have kind of like an upside down ice cream cone, or a carrot nose. We want to add some lumps and bumps to make it look a little bit more carrot-like. So the idea is to keep them a little bit bigger towards the base, and then they'll kind of get smaller and more spread apart towards the end here. They don't have to be the same on each side, and they don't have to be like evenly spaced or anything, because that's the great thing about carrots and nature and things that grow in the ground, is they're very imperfect in the most beautiful ways. So we're gonna just, I've got a little bit more red in this spot, so I'm adding a little bit more yellow to my brush. So just some kind of lumps, bumps, and then fill it in. This is really where they'll start to mix. This is just the first layer, so just get it in there and we'll adjust. You can always make it bigger, but anything on top of a white background or base is a little bit tricky to make smaller. But that's what gives it character. We made a giant snowman and only had baby carrots at home, so its nose was teeny tiny, and it was actually really cute. So we've just got just the shape of our carrot in. We're gonna let that dry and then we'll add some more to it. So we'll clean our brush again. And this time when we mix a color for our rosy cheeks, I want you to mix it maybe in the lids of the paint pods or on a little paper plate or something, not on the canvas, because you want to get it really light pink. So more white and then just a little bit of red. So you mix it ahead of time off of the canvas so you really know what color you're getting into, because it's a little tricky to go back. So I'm mixing a really light pink, and we're just gonna do circles wherever we can fit them in around. You see how I just did? This is where a circle is going to be, but it stops at these earmuffs and the carrot because squeezing it all in there. I like that pink a lot. Pretty. So we just do curved lines that make it look like there's a circle back there. He looks like he's like this. I love it. Okay, and then we're going to use brown. And actually, if you mix brown with navy blue, it makes it even darker. So it's more of a dark, dark brown or black. All right, for our eyes, and I'll show you on this guy, the completed eyes are ovals right next to each other, right above that C shape that we did. So the trick with the eyes is I like to use the butt of the brush or the opposite end of the bristles, and you dip it in a color and then dot it onto where you want them to be. So I'm dipping them in my mixed color here and dotting on here. I've committed to those spaces. They kind of look super cute, teeny, teeny, tiny, but I'm gonna make them bigger by just adding a little bit more, just a little bit at a time, because it's really easy for them to get huge, like I mentioned with the carrot too. So just a little bit at a time. Sometimes when we keep playing with something, it gets harder and harder and harder to really fix it. And depending on what kind of snowman you've made before, my snowmen usually have rocks because I don't have coal. So we usually do rocks for eyes. And that means that they're going to be different and irregular shaped too. So I'm going with this. I like that. Clean your brush again. And we're going to add in our bird. This guy's super cute. It looks a little bit tricky. I'll show you in the picture. But when we break it down one shape at a time, it's way easier than you think. So I'm going to start, if you dip your brush in red paint, we're going to start by making the letter U inside your nest. It's okay if it overlaps the actual nest just a little bit. I want him sitting up a little bit more. So I'm making a U and close the top and fill him in. And he's facing the branch like, man, how do I get up in that tree? It looks so cozy up there. Okay, so we're gonna make him facing the branch so his tail is out here. And I'll show you again on this one. The tail is just two long triangles, long skinny triangles. Show you on here. So this one is kind of pointed up. We'll add the base and connect. And this one is a little bit shorter and goes down a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once you get them in there, you can fill them in. We've got an orange beak. So with red still on your brush, you can dip it a little bit in yellow. And we'll paint on our beak that's going out from the front. Cute, look at them. Come together already. Now we'll clean our brush and we'll come back and add another layer to each of these things, or most of these things, in just a minute here. Normally, if you were painting and taking your time and being, patient and working on this for hours and hours, the pattern of which we paint these things, these pieces in, would be a little bit different. But when we're working on a little bit of a simpler timeline, especially with acrylic paints, because it dries so quickly, we kind of bounce back and forth to different pieces of the painting. This next step, if the red of your cardinal here is dry, we're going to add a triangle inside it. This one's going to be a little bit smaller than the beak and kind of pointing down, so they're not in line with each other necessarily. They're starting at the same point, but they're moving in different directions. You can use that same, like we did before, that butt of the brush, I call it. If you dip that in white, we're going to give them a little dot eye towards the top of that brown triangle. Just dip this end of your brush in the white paint and dot it on. Simple, simple. Now we're going to come back to our carrot nose. We're going to add another layer to really make it nice and thick, but also add a little texture to it. So this time, if you can mix a little darker of an orange, so that's going to mean a little bit more red than you did last time. If your carrot is super dark already, go the opposite way. Add a little bit more yellow. So we want just something different, really, than what you had before. So I'll show you on this completed one. If you notice how it's darker on the top of the carrot, that's what we're going for here. So we're going to add kind of a little bit more to those round bumps. So the top is going to be a little bit darker, and then we come inside just a little bit to add the lines, and that really makes it those rooty sort of look that the carrot has. So I've got my darker orange mixed, and I'm just going to really gently touch the top because I know it's a lot darker. I'm touching the top of the carrot. And if you work back, curve it inside as if these were circles. So we're curving this inside, and you can do that on each of those. Bringing it in, bringing it in. I'll work this one down a little bit more. And you can do a little bit on the bottom too, so that it's not totally different, but you don't want to paint over all that you have in there already. Remember, all carrots are different, so don't feel like any of ours are going to look alike. There is even another layer to the carrot, so this is still not the final look, but you're getting there and it's looking great. If you want to use that orange that you still have on your brush to add another layer to your beak, I really like that orange better that time around. We'll clean our brush, and we're going to add another layer of brown to the nest. So this time you can paint right on top of what you've got there for the nest already, but just move your brush a little bit differently. So if you have a side to side or a horizontal line, you want to paint vertical or something so that it kind of is a little bit more sporadic in the way that the branches or pieces of the nest are put together. So we're just gonna, it doesn't have to be that specific, but these will also overlap some of your bird a little bit. So you want some of your first layer to show through still. If If you're painting with someone, keep an eye out for each other. It's really easy to get carried away with these branches. It's kind of fun. Get really into it. Excellent. Now for the earmuffs, I'll show you the second layer with our earmuffs. The top is meant to be a little bit lighter than the bottom. So if you get close to the color that you mixed before and add a teeny bit of white to it, all you gotta do is dab, dab, dab right on top. We don't wanna cover up what we've already got, just add to it. So I'm mixing a little bit more of my green or something similar to it, and a teeny dash of white, and then just dab, dab, dab towards the top of the earmuff, and maybe a little bit in the middle. It's kind of like a dividing line highlight sort of deal. If you get carried away with the light, you can always come back and add more dark back to it, which mine is a little bit too solid of a line here. So I'm gonna go back and add a little bit of dark, but you don't have to if you're happy with it the way it is. All right, we want to add a little white highlight and some snow, and then we're just about done. Look at that. So I want to make sure my brush is perfect, nice and clean. If you need more water by now, take a sec to go rinse it out and come back. If I had a joke, if I was good at telling jokes, I would tell you a joke to get through this moment of cleaning brushes, but I'm good at art and not jokes. So we're going to use a clean brush for snow and some highlights. We're gonna do some snow. I'll show you on this completed one. Some snow on top of our branches here. And it's just on the part where you would see snow landing. So something that's parts of the branches that are more flat that would catch the snow. So I'm gonna do some here because that's where my branches are kind of separating from each other and stopping. And notice I'm going dab, 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 dab. But also if you kind of twist and turn your brush while you're dabbing, it helps it to look a little bit more unpatterned or planned like snow would land for real. Maybe you'll get a little snow landing on top of these little parts of the wire too, depending on how long your guy's sitting out there. And if the snowman's got snow resting on him, landing on him, then your bird does too, right? So add a little there. I'm going to use white on my brush still to add just a little swoosh on top of the snowman's nose. And then just a couple little swooshes inside the nest. Helps to break up that gob of brown we've got there. You can absolutely adjust and change as you see. These are my snow buddies. Geez, they're cute. Thanks for painting with me, friends. I love doing this, and I hope you had a good time. Enjoy your new wall art, and have a wonderful rest of your winter. And go build a snowman.